Good evening and welcome to Patriot Tough Talk. I'm your host, Mike. Well, just want to get started by talking about a couple of things that have broke loose today. Um, I did drop a video on Facebook and Twitter. It was all about the behind the scenes stuff with Hollywood from a person who worked in Hollywood, a stunt driver who became a stunt coordinator. It was all about the different ways that people basically worship. Obviously, worship is individual, and people go to church and they go to different types of church. There's Christian churches, there's Catholic churches, there's Protestant churches, there's, all kinds of different churches. There's also people, like they say, where there's good, there's evil, and one can't survive without the other. And there's people who worship the devil and Lucifer, and I believe that's kind of a fact that if people have come out and said that they are devil worshipers. There's associations and churches and for people who worship the devil. Just like there's churches for people who worship Christ, or mosque for people who worship in their Muslim faith, or Jehovah's Witnesses. Everybody, people worship different ways, so everybody has their own way to worship. And with these devil worshiping organizations, a lot of them, there's connections back to Nazi Germany and different beliefs that they had. So the video I dropped was basically an informative documentary from an individual who worked in Hollywood, and there's a female reporter who's gone into depths. Not going to drop her name. I mean, obviously, if you watch the documentary, you'll see what her name is because she's in it. And it's about, it's all connected into children and trafficking and worshiping and sacrifices. And I guess in today's society, anything's possible. So just a little on that video, and give it a look. It's interesting. It gives you a different perspective on how some people think. It also shows you that there's been people out there, George Carlin and Richie Gervais, who came out and said things about the Hollywood mentality. And over the years, we've seen Harvey Weinstein, for sexual assault of actors and actresses. And we've had documented basically stories from, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, and how their childhood was. And a lot of this, I mean, it goes all the way back to, Judy Garland. If anybody's seen the Judy Garland movie, you'll see that she was sexually abused and sexually assaulted by people as she was an actor, a child actor. So this definitely goes on in Hollywood. People want to pretend it doesn't, but there's documentation, decades of it. And they talk a lot about Epstein Island and the famous people that attended his island via aircraft because they kept the aircraft logs. So it's something to watch, something to get into, just to take a look at, to broaden. I mean, we don't have to believe everything we're told. Clearly, there's so much disinformation going around that there's no reason for us to believe everything. Believe what you want, check in and, figure out where you are and where you stand. And today's country, today's world, um, it's a scary place, you know, and you do your best to do your job, come home and be with your family, and there's people out there that are less fortunate. They don't have the opportunity to come home, hang with their kids, or play with their dogs. And there's some 20,000 children now at the border. But we're not allowed to talk about the border because it doesn't exist. It's a myth. The hundreds of thousands of people that are entering our country uh, unchecked. Well, no, they're checked because they're catching murderers and rapists and gangbangers, and they're catching all these people coming across the border now that are wrapped inside that those hundreds of thousands of people. Um, and there's a ton of unaccompanied children, and they're being turned over to family members, allegedly. So take a look at this video, and if you haven't had a chance, I haven't had a chance because I can't find it anywhere. There's a movie that was put out on child trafficking called The Sound of Freedom. If you get a chance to find it in theaters, the trailers are out there on YouTube. I haven't been able to find where it's showing. Hopefully soon I'll be able to take a look at it because it looks like a pretty intense film about child trafficking. It's written by a gentleman who currently runs the Underground Railroad, which is a program to find children, bring them home, get them safe. He was a federal officer, and his job was to find missing kids. And in his search to find these children, they came into a lot of human trafficking. They cross lines from missing children into human trafficking, and the movie looks intense, and it's written by a person who's been there, boots on the ground. So that's probably something to look for and get your opportunity to see it, because I think everybody deserves the opportunity to get all the information. And our girls from The View are back in the news because Meghan McCain brought up today about the Major League Baseball protesting the Georgia election laws. She pretty much laid it down, that the laws are there to protect the people, and that the changes that they've made are not going to eliminate people from voting, just going to allow people to vote accurately. In order for us to know that they are legal to vote, they have to show ID. And I don't understand why everybody's making such a big deal about this ID thing, because if you go to the store, you have to show ID for beer or alcohol or tobacco. If you get married, you have to show ID. If you cross the borders, you have to show ID. There's a whole list of things that you need ID for. To drive a car, you need ID. But everybody's making a big deal about you needing ID to vote. And I don't see the difference between driving a car and voting. If you need ID for that, then why shouldn't you need ID to vote? Why should you not have to prove that you are who you say you are, and that you're an American citizen, and that you've earned the right to vote? But back to Meghan McCain. So what she was saying is that if we're going to protest, if President Biden has gotten behind the protests of Major League Baseball and he supports it, and she was saying that if you're going to support that, then you should support us not going to the Olympics because of the genocide that's occurring in China. And the Olympics are in China, and we're going to basically protest Georgia and take money out of the state of Georgia because Georgia's requiring you to show identification. And if you want an absentee ballot, you have to have a reason to absentee ballot, other than I'm too lazy to go and vote. Or, I can understand that people are concerned because now if they make people show ID on absentee ballots, Stacey Abrams will basically have no job. I mean, what her job was in Georgia this year was to run around and collect votes, and no ID required. And so it's definitely going to put Stacey Abrams out of work. And we oh, wait a minute, she ran for governor and lost, so she doesn't really have a job anyway. So putting her out of work, interesting. All right. So with that being said, obviously, there has to be a rebuttal from Whoopi Goldberg because she can't help but open her mouth. And she got down on Megan and basically said, "Oh, that's frog legs." And I'm not quite sure what that meant. I'm sure it's a substitution for some form of curse or something to say, "Oh, basically, it's bullshit." And President Biden has said, it's like the Jim Crow laws. Well, I don't know if anybody's really looked up what the Jim Crow laws are, or the Jim Crow rules laws. Fact is those were really, really bad, and they were very discriminatory. I don't really see where you having to show ID or have an excuse for an absentee ballot is discriminatory, but apparently President Biden thinks it's discriminatory, and Whoopi Goldberg thinks it's frog legs, whatever that means. So everything for me right now is it's funny. Everything's funny because, and if you know me, then you'll know that I spent half my life thinking everything was funny. The fact that there's all these people out there talking, and they've all got so much to say, and everybody says, "Oh, I can't tell you about this, or I can't tell you about that because it's secretive and don't want to ruin anything." And the fact is that if you can't prove it to me, then I don't have time to listen. So all this subversion talk that's coming from the right about, Biden's not the president and the military's in charge and the white hats and the black hats and the stuff's all crap. I mean, at this point, it's crap, and the American people deserve to know the truth, whatever it is. And a lot of people don't think we can handle it. And a lot of these documentaries are coming out, and they're coming out in a way that they're people who are actually there on the ground, and they're telling you, this is what happened, this is what I saw, and we're dismissing them, or we're making these documentaries hard to find. These movies are hard to find. You can't find them because they're basically just censorshiping everything. The thing with what's going on in the border, I mean, everybody knows it's happening. It's all happening. We all know it. The issues going on in Portland, they're not even talking about it. They're not even talking about Portland. And there's a riot there every night. Law enforcement is basically fed up, and they're hanging up their handcuffs and their badge, and they're leaving. They're done. So Portland's pretty close to having a lawless society. And the guys that hang in there, power to you. Hopefully you get home safe at night. But everything we're hearing from the news and everything we hear from the View people, my favorite group, there's so much crap being said. And truthfully, look, take care of your family. take care of your own, do what you can. You know, if you can, if there are things going on out there and you feel like the need to start posting memes and different things that are factual, you know, go for it, because the more people that become educated to what's happening, the better. We we deserve, as Americans, we deserve to know the truth. But all this bicker back and forth, man, it's not doing any good. It's not doing any good. We ultimately need to take what we know or what we can find out, take the information that this man put in his documentary, the information that was dug up by this reporter about Pizzagate. Why, if these things have come to light, have you ever thought about why have people not been arrested? If these things are true, then why has nobody been arrested? If why are we being lied to about how many people at the border, or why can't we get press teams in there, and why is everything so set up where, oh yeah, you can bring in a press crew but you can only go here? What are you hiding over there? And I guess I'm tired of I'm tired of people deciding what truth I get to what truth I get to see. You know, I want to know who killed Kennedy. And so do a lot of other people. And that's always been the long standing who killed Kennedy. Well, Kennedy died. There was the magic bullet, took out, I don't know, 2 people, 7 different directions. And we just accept it. We're like, okay with it. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, that's a magic bullet. No, man, it's not right. We deserve the truth. Now, I don't know if we're ever going to get it. I don't know if we'll ever get it in my lifetime. And where we're heading right now, we're being basically bossed to and dictated to by China and Iran about how we're going to do our business. And if we don't remove these sanctions, what are they going to do? They're going to come here? Nobody's going to attack America. Nobody. Our own government is our issue right now because nobody's telling us what's going on. All the previous administrations have had secrets. And it's almost like people in the Congress and the Senate aren't even voting the way their constituents want them to vote. It's like we're too stupid to be able to make our decisions on how we want things handled. So they're going to do it the way they think is best. Well, that's insane. That's insane that we allow the people that we elected to go and vote on serious, important issues that are different than what we want. Well, look, I've thrown a couple movies out there, a couple documentaries and a movie. Talked about the View, and basically Whoopi stepped all over Meghan McCain. And that's how everybody's trying to do it now. If you have an opinion and you're a conservative, it gets stepped on by as many people as can step on it. Because if they suppress it and they keep it down, it won't exist. If they ignore what the real truth is, what's really going on at the border or what's really going on over here, then we will forget about it because we're so busy taking care of our own lives every day that we stop watching and we stop paying attention to what's happening around us. For no other reason do I put out this video, then hopefully maybe something I say will make some person go, oh, well, let me look into that. And then you look into it and you see that this is happening and this is what they're saying, and get off the bench, man, and get involved. Get educated. If you hear people talk about something, you don't have to take it for gospel, but look into it. Now, if any of the stuff is true about the children and the human trafficking, we should be outraged. We should be all protesting every single day until it stops. But we're not. We look for we're all looking for somebody to lead us, and nobody is. Our money's being spent in ways we don't want it spent, but all we do is bitch about it. There's nothing we can do, is the common statement. There's nothing I can do about it. What am I going to do? I can't change it, but you can. And the way you change is you get with like-minded people and you stand up and you make your voice heard and you put out a show. If nothing else, you can tell people how you feel. I enjoy doing the show simply because it makes me feel better. And if I get 1 or 2 or 3 people who look at it and say, hey, Mike, I saw your show and, I didn't know this was happening. And I watched the documentary and, man, you're right. That can't happen. Or we can't let this go on anymore. I'm not exciting. My show's not exciting. I don't have all these awesome news feeds and things that I can bring up to you, but I will point you in a direction that you can learn for yourself. I will find things. And look, Meghan McCain has not been a huge fan of Donald Trump. She's not been a supporter of the Republican Party all that much, even though she's a conservative. But her point's very clear. We're going to attack our own country. We're going to attack a state inside our country about changing election laws, but we're going to let genocide continue and send our Olympians over there to China without a question. That makes no sense to me. A lot of things that are happening make no sense to me. And I guess that's where I start to look into it and research it. And then I want to bring some of it to the table when I talk. Hey, look, it's Monday, the worst part of the work week. Take care of your family, take care of your own, and hope you guys have a good week. Hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday. Peace out.